Yes. I did a little study about this inculpatory evidence. Yes. And that would be evidence that's incriminating. Yeah. Exculpatory would be evidence that would be favorable to myself as the defendant. Now, I found out that there's a person named Bagley. And it seems that Bagley, established the precedent that if any witnesses are against the accused, the third party that allegedly received an email from me, they can be impeached as an actual witness against the accused. Yes. Now, I didn't see where the actual email came from, but according to the court, sua ponta directs the government to produce to the defendant, timely matter, any evidence in its possession that is favorable to the defendant. Now, that would mean that they'd have to produce any witnesses that could be impeached. Yes. Now, just so I know, okay, of all the evidence that the government has that says I was in Sequim, Washington, how is that possible since I was in Port Angeles, Washington, and all the witnesses, yes, that say I was there? Yes. Why was I deprived the right to have them impeached for lying about me being in Sequim, Washington when I was in Port Angeles, Washington? Now, all discoverable evidence in a readily usable form. I mentioned that I send emails and make videos, yes, about the crime of the issuance of a protection order, yes, where the Superior Court judge, yes, Brent Baisden, is both an ordained and an elected. Poop, poop. Now, let's say you have the authority to sign tax deductible receipts where you have a conflict of interest in that you want your religion to keep more money than the government. Yes. But as the appointed or the elected, your income is derived from the money that the government receives from the taxation of those that you can issue tax deductible receipts for. Now, by holding in Ruiz that the government committed no due process violation by requiring the defendant to waive a right to impeachment, yes, I think my right to impeach any witnesses that said, poop, Bagley, Paul was attempting to contact the petitioner through a third party because he was emailing school districts about his rights as a father being violated, yes, about forgeries and fraud in the issuance of court orders, yes, where the court commissioner had been signing tax deductible receipts for Mormons while at the same time deriving his income from the taxation of the population. Now, there could be a conflict of interest. Poop. Now, let's say I went to suing the Mormons for $80 billion. Of all of the presidents of all of the wards and stakes and institutions of Mormonism, BYU, how many of you realize that Brent probably is the signature of every tax deductible receipt of every gift given to Mormonism, Pope, where at the same time he's the elected as a judge that receives it. Now, there could be a lawsuit in this, okay? Because I informed law enforcement that the petitioner didn't sign it. Yes. There's fraudulent misrepresentations that I received actual notice and the opportunity to be heard. Yes. And the protecting of the income of religion by the ordained. Yes. Where they have the authority to deprive Congress of income. Yes. Could be a conflict of interest. Now, vulnerability and protective factors for child abuse and maltreatment. Now, I'm sure that Mike and Brent realized in the Mormon way that my son's being in the wrong grades for the last 7.5 years, yes, both as pastoral individuals that they are, yes, had a conflict of interest in refusing to protect the rights of children, yeah, because of their want to keep control of depriving Congress of the right to derive an income from taxation. Now, there's the individual, yes, uh-huh. There's a parental familial, and then there's environment and social network factors. Now, I'm going to want to know what churches. Oh, Heidi was taking my sons to. Yes, that have issued tax deductible receipts to any of their congregants. That did know that my rights as a father were being violated. Yes, I was being falsely arrested numerous times. And then there were never any witnesses other than Corey Hall as an officer. Yes. And then there's the deputy prosecuting attorney that didn't involve law enforcement investigating where I was at. And then there's law enforcement's refusing to admit the exculpatory evidence. Now, of all the charities that Heidi participated in for the last 7.5 years, First Baptist Church, I'm probably going to audit it, all of the actual tax deductible receipts of the Baptist denomination. And then there's the Foursquare. Yes, yes, yes. And then there's the involvement of my relatives in other churches and denominations. Oh. And then there's this whole idea, right, that these maltreatment of children, when I inform you in the evidence, yes, that my sons are going to graduate at 19 and a half years old, and you decided that you wouldn't prosecute a county commissioner, yes, that had the right to deprive Congress of their income while at the same time demanding income for his service. Pooch. Now, I am absolutely sure that, for example, the age that separates childhood from adulthood abuse differs widely. Yeah. Now, I still have some sons that are under the age of 14. Yeah. And I wanted them to reside with me. Yes. So I'm going to look at the tax deductible receipts. And then I'm going to do some auditing of Mormonism for defrauding the United States of America of income. Now, I told you, yes, it was against the law. Now we have the physical, sexual, psychological, and emotional abuse, as well as witnessing the violence and neglect of pastors protecting pastors, presidents of charities protecting presidents, mandatory reporters protecting mandatory reporters from lawsuits, yes, and then the depriving me of having the knowledge of who the witness was, yes, that I probably could have gotten impeached, yes, if she got paid for a show. Now let's call Carol again and all the employees of the Brennan and Quilcene school districts, yes, that said, no, we don't have to enforce his rights. What do we know? Yes, yes, yes. Childhood maltreatment may guide researchers and service providers seeking to prevent future abuse. What would prevent future abuse? Oh, of abusive states right now. The suing. I didn't get a phone call. Brent. Seems like there's a large conflict of future.